Welcome to the Roncast, where entrepreneurs find killer tips, techniques, and tools to start and growth hack any business. Brought to you by one of Canada's favorite business personalities, Ron Davies. Enjoy the show.
Hi guys, and welcome back to the Roncast. The episodes we're running right now are all about COVID-19 Business S.O.S. We started off in the first episode with sort of an overviewish look, and what I'm going to take you into today is two things. One is how to assess where you are right now, and a lot of us are so far into our businesses that we don't see the forest for the trees. It's really important to get a baseline sense of where we are right now. And then I want to get right into the next part, which is how we're going to market in this current environment. So you need to have a sense that is accurate in terms of where your business is right now. We talked a little bit about SWOT, strength, weakness, opportunity, and threats in the previous episode. I think was TRC40. But what we need to get into this time is actually quantifying that now. So I've got a few questions that I want you to be able to answer so that we can effectively apply those answers into part two of this episode. This episode will be a little bit longer because I want you to be able to take action from this this weekend. So this is Easter Saturday. So let's kind of go through with where we are. You're going to get a lot of strategies that you can use that are going to help with your business. But the reality is, if you don't know where you are right now, there's no way to measure if something is an improvement, an increase in business, or the opposite, if it's a decrease in business. So what I've found historically is that people that have a good idea of their numbers generally do really well because they know what's working and what isn't. So here are some questions that you need to kind of ask yourself as we go into part two of this episode, and anything afterwards. It's all going to come back to what you do right here. So you need to be completely candid with yourself in terms of what's happening in your business. So I want you to get out a piece of paper and answer the questions, what's going on in my business? What is the overall environment? Am I growing? Am I shrinking? And this is kind of notwithstanding the COVID-19 situation. This is just in general. Are there new competitors in your market? Have competitors maybe fallen away? And that's localized to your business. Now, what about your industry? If you're in the buggy whip industry, chances are it's shrinking. If you're in alternative energy, it's probably growing. If you're in food, it's probably stable. If you're in housewares, it's probably stable, but you have a lot of competitors, things like this. So is your market, the piece of the market you're in, the industry you're in rather, is it growing or is it contracting? Make a couple of notes about that. Just what are your feelings? Don't feel like you have to be an expert, but just, what are your feelings on that? The third question is, what's the biggest problem that my customers are challenged with? What could I, as the business owner, be helping them solve? In fact, if I could help them solve it, what would have them basically kicking my door in to come to me to solve it? And if you don't know what your customers' challenges are, send an email out to them and ask them. Or if you're in a face-to-face type of business, maybe you could have them record a video for you. For digital marketers and for offline marketers, maybe you could incentivize them with, a free coffee with the next meal or a discount or something in order to get that feedback. Because what I've found with customers is that if you ask them for their opinion, they will always give it, whether it's good or bad. And if you ask them what they need, they will tell you. I had built a mailing list along with my brother, and we were business partners, of over 500,000 digital marketers or people learning digital marketing. And what we did each week is we did 2 webinars each week, and we covered what they wanted to learn in those webinars. And how we knew what they wanted to learn was by polling them and asking them. So do that. And the fourth one is, how is your bank account looking? Right now, we're talking about how long businesses can last living out of cash reserves. What do your liabilities look like right now? Are your rent or your lease being forgiven, or are you getting a break on that from the government? What do you have in the bank? Essentially, what does your cash position look like right now? Be really candid, be really honest, and don't pull any punches, because this is just between you and yourself. And not including the COVID-19 period of recent, what have your sales looked like for, say, the last 3 to 6 months? What do those look like? Have you been increasing sales, decreasing sales? Don't worry about the whys or the hows. Just what is the trend? Is it up, down, or straight sideways? Get used to using trend lines. And the way that I use trend lines is I either draw a short line, maybe a ½ inch long, that goes from down to up, or from up to down, or a straight line sideways. And that's all I do, because even though the numbers are critical, what gives you a quick read is that trend line. So is your sales trends going up, down, or sideways? What does your sales pipeline look like? What does that look like for, say, the next 3 to 6 months? And what's the biggest, would you say, parasitic drain on what you do? How could you get rid of it? So do you have staff that are dead wood, but you feel too uncomfortable letting them go, and they're just increasing your monthly burn rate? Do you have products that you have in inventory that you can't move, and they're holding up capital? Do you have a rental that you're not optimized for? Do you have a tenant that doesn't pay rent? These kind of things. So what are the downside things you're experiencing in your business in terms of just burning up money that maybe we could find a way together to get it cut away? So you're kind of thinking this is probably sounding a little bit like a SWOT, just a snapshot. It is kind of, but it's more specific about each part. The next question is, what is the largest, we're on the kind of the O here, what is kind of the largest opportunity in your business over the next 3 to 6 months? What's the growth opportunity, if any? For example, right now, because so many shops have closed, even though maybe they weren't forced to, that means that the competing shops that remain open are in a current place of opportunity because they've reduced the amount of competition. On the other hand, if you're in pharmaceuticals, this is a great opportunity to become the local place to go for, say, face masks during COVID-19, or vitamin C, or zinc, or I'm not a doctor, so I'm not giving any medical advice, but for anything that helps people, get through COVID-19, whether they've been diagnosed, not diagnosed, and so forth. And really, this last question is a really important one. You have to either be in or be out, right? What was it in Karate Kid? The young fella said to Mr. Miyagi, or Mr. Miyagi said to the young guy, you can either karate all or karate none. You should never karate some. Your business is the same way. You've either got to be fully in it or fully out of it. I'm saying in it. I should say on it. In coaching business people, the idea is to get them out of their business so they're working on it, not in it. So I apologize. I'm using the wrong language here. But what is your belief in working on your business? How strongly do you feel that your business has the ability, with you doing everything you can, to succeed during this COVID-19 situation, right? So just kind of rate that yourself. I want you to take those questions and just leave them aside for now, because I want to move you quickly into the next step. This is very time sensitive. I wanted to spend less than 10 minutes on that kind of questionnaire. I might be putting one up in Google Docs, and I will post the URL for that at theroncast.com. Under this will be TRC, which stands for the Roncast, if you haven't guessed that already. TRC41, I believe this will be. There will be a link there. I'll have a document made up that you can fill out online, and that will give me some insights as well. You can leave it anonymous if you want, or you can put your name in, your email address, whatever you want to do. But I want to move swiftly into the next part. We want to talk about marketing, right? There's nothing that you can't solve in business with great marketing. Great marketing converts into sales. Even if your sales conversion process isn't very good, great marketing will cover that up. If you don't do great marketing, you're going to be swallowed up by those that do. Because the reality is that marketing is a simple thing, right? Marketing is not mystical. It's about getting people to raise their hands or not raise their hands to demonstrate an interest or a non-interest in what you do. That's really what it is, right? You don't want to start selling people on something before they've indicated that they're interested in it, because that's putting the cart before the horse. It doesn't work that way, right? So really what you want to do is just be able to identify, are people interested in what I do or what I don't do in terms of a business? Marketing is not mystical. It's not particularly creative. Now, I don't argue that there are great creative minds out there in terms of producing picture collateral, logos and images and market speak and headlines and email content. All of that stuff is a creative space. But really what marketing sits squarely on top of is information, data, if you will. It's basically the process of taking a single marketing initiative, executing on it, and then measuring the results. So a typical example of that would be, let me give you a homestead type example. When I go to sell something on, let's say, Kijiji. Here's a great example. Lots of people are doing a thriving business on Kijiji right now. So when I go to sell a Harley Davidson motorcycle on Kijiji, I will, against Kijiji's policies, I apologize guys, but I will post a slightly different ad in 4 or 5 different municipalities for the exact same thing. And then I will see which one gets the most eyes, which headline. That headline I will then put on all of those ads and use 4 or 5 different descriptions. Now, sure, this sounds like a lot of work, but if it wasn't Kijiji and I was paying for those ads, I would want them to be really optimized, wouldn't I? Because if I'm paying for a click, I want that click to be the right person. I don't want a tire kicker. A lot of people go into things like Facebook ads or things like that, and they just try to write their ad so everybody will click on it. That's the worst thing you can possibly do. I write ads the opposite way. I write ads to prevent people from clicking on it, except for the exact people that I want to click on it. That's called qualification. That way, I'm only paying for the people that click. This is part of the problem with local radio ads and television ads and things like that, is that can't be done. Unfortunately, I'm not a big supporter of radio ads. Works for some people, doesn't work for most. But we'll go down that road another time. Right now, what I'm trying to point out is that marketing is about collecting information, right? So right now, regardless of what kind of business you're in, my bet is that some of your competitors have shut down, right? And if they haven't shut down, they're probably concerned with their cash reserves, so they've reduced the amount of spend on marketing other than deals they were already in, like I said, with radio station contracts and things like that. Marketing agency, digital marketing agency contracts, they still probably have to fulfill on them. But the reality is they will be spending less. If you look at, say, McDonald's, right, during the last recession, McDonald's increased their advertising budget, I think, by 3 or 4 times when everybody else was advertising less. Burger King, Wendy's, Harvey's, they all reduced their marketing budgets, and McDonald's increased theirs by 3 or 4-fold. They took a huge market share from the others, and they managed to hang on to them. So you can do the same thing here. Never be doing what everyone else is doing. This is one of the reasons that I don't mind doing audits on what digital marketing agencies or marketing agencies do for clients, because marketing agencies are in the business of making money. The way they make money is by doing just enough work and producing enough result that you will be impressed with them enough to keep them on their retainer and to keep them working for you. How do I know this? Because we've done the digital marketing agency model that has been embraced for about 15 years now, and it's still the main marketing model that's out there. The reality is, though, you want to own the digital marketing agency, not be a client. Because like I say, just like most employees, now there are great employees and there are great marketing agencies. Most of them are not. Most of them are what we call median agencies. They don't know what's new. They aren't really in touch with everything, and they're going to do just enough to keep you impressed enough to keep you on as a client.